Hi, everyone. I'm Liza Amlani from Retail Strategy Group. Some of the work that I do is around merchandising optimization. I also act as a retail interpreter for retail tech companies and a few academic institutions. I'd like to introduce you to Gary Newbury, the supply chain exec on call, but go ahead, Gary.
Yep, with Retail Aid. My purpose in life is to inspire retail business leaders to think big, be bold, scale, adapt and win one epic supply chain transformation at a time.
I love it. Awesome. Thanks, Gary.
You're welcome.
Do you want to go ahead and tell everyone what we're about to talk about today?
Yeah, I could give it a quick nudge. We've been talking amongst ourselves offline to try and think of how do we engage other experts to come into onto retail code and just help us to understand the adoption or otherwise of technology, what goes right, and perhaps where retailers or the process causes a less than satisfactory outcome. So we are going to be talking to a number of people, maybe AI people in different aspects of technology across retail to try and explore that. But I think that it'd be helpful for us to perhaps share some of our thoughts before we kick off.
I can go first.
Yeah, please do. We've got a long shopping list here.
One of the biggest retail challenges that I've been through was around implementation of SAP. Not to call out SAP by any means, but just, the challenges that we went through at Ralph Lauren. It was super tough, especially because I think none of the people that were actually doing the work were really on that journey of choosing the solution, understanding what the solution could do and what variables were really needed to make that solution successful. An example of this is something I've actually talked about in the newsletter, where I was working with Ralph Lauren Canada, and me and my former boss, Marty, awesome guy, we basically spent hours at NLS because there were so many, I guess, thousands of orders that could not be received in Canada, and nobody could figure out why. We basically just sat there, and what we actually found out after many, many hours was that the size range was being converted before it hit the DC. So the DC system could not understand what SAP was sending in terms of size ranges. So it was converting it from like alpha to numeric. So that's why we couldn't receive any product. And this happened, I think it was like over a couple of weeks. Literally thousands and thousands and thousands of customer orders could not get to the Bay, which was our biggest customer. So that was super challenging. And that was something that Ralph Lauren as a whole did not even think to take into consideration, because they were used to dealing with Greensboro, which is their DC that is owned and operated by Ralph Lauren. But in Canada, we had NLS, which is a third party. So of course, different systems. And with SAP implementation, this was something that was literally mind-blowing to everyone, that why couldn't Canada receive US orders? That's my most famous story.
I think that we're going to be on a great journey here, because as I listen to that, there's a thing called unit batch and volume tests, and another series of tests with business user interfaces and stuff like that. It strikes me that, oh, we used to do it this way. Oh, we're doing it this way, but let's ignore that because we've tested this, but we haven't tested that, and it's a slip up. And I wonder how many areas we're going to bump into where either people aren't involved at the right point and taken on a journey. And we talked a little bit offline before we got on the call about how often the glossy brochure, yes, we'll buy that, let's get the box, open the box, put the disc into the machine. I'm showing my age now. And
floppy disk.
no, I'll just get the Winchester out and put another one in. You probably have never seen that. But I wonder how many obvious steps or missteps companies, we're going to focus into retailers, but it's not much wider than this. It's businesses that could learn perhaps from a journey we're going to go through, where missteps are made and results aren't delivered. And then the first thing that we may find is that they start either blaming the individuals inside the organization. You're not doing your job right. You didn't do your batch testing or unit testing, whatever, or the supplier's really rubbish. We should have checked this, checked that. And because they didn't check what they should have been doing, or is there something else out there? But often we think the tech, the implementation of the tech is the thing, when actually that's the least of our, in my mind, that's the least of our concern. It's actually taking our team through the process of visioning what we're trying to achieve here and getting them ignited on that, so that when we do make the occasional slip up, we're all trying to make this win. We're all trying to succeed in this. And that goes from, the executives, the C-level, the executives, mid-level managers, down to the guys on the floor. Well, if they get that message, this is coming and we're all involved in this. We've got a team of 1,000 people making this work, as opposed to just a very select band of people who we know what we're doing. We shouldn't share it with these guys down here, because they might actually leave and go to a competitor, and with what information? Really?
And I've kind of been on both sides of that, where I was at a retailer and I was also at a consulting firm where change management comes in, and that's where they help you understand not only the impact and the great impact of this new technology, but also how it's going to change the way you work. And fundamentally, retailers, we don't like change. And I think that's human nature, that, as soon as you implement changes into the way you work, number one, you fear for your job. And number two, it's learning something new where you're used to doing things a certain way. And it's hard, right? In the most simplest terms, it's tough.
That's your job as an executive. That's your job, is to manage from one state to another, from as is to be. That is your job. I don't know how you can imagine basically, if you're dealing with PwC, we're bringing the change management experts. They can give you a framework for sure. But when it comes down to that, where the rubber hits the road as such, it's you talking to your subordinates, your team, saying, this is the journey we're on. You need to get on with me, because I'm still wondering where is this going. I'm waiting for more information, or I've got the full picture. I'm sharing that with you. We are going on this journey, and there is to the point you made last, which sometimes we might find that we feel that the first thing we do is experience fear of, are we going to lose our role? But actually, sometimes it's much more cynical than that. Am I good enough? Am I going to survive this? Am I good enough? If this technology comes in, and I've been using, say, Excel spreadsheets, or suddenly we've got AI, I don't know anything about it. So part of the executive's role in change management is to bring everybody up, bring everybody's skill, calm it all down, boost their confidence, rather than kind of outsource it to the guys from PwC or KPMG to come in and do it to us.
For sure. But in most cases that I've seen, it's that the leadership teams and certain nominated folks from the retailer are actually working together with the consulting firm. So I haven't seen where it's completely separate, but where I have a challenge with it is when the people that are actually doing the work are not involved in choosing the technology. And that's my problem with enabling new ways of working.
It's getting done to them, not they're part of the solution.
Exactly. I'm working with a couple of retailers right now where they implemented new technology, during the last 12, 13, 14 months, where technology was needed to either showcase new product or interact and engage with your customer in a different way, like a live stream. I have two retailers where one had implemented live stream and another one a new POS system because they were implementing Shopify. They just didn't know enough. And in fact, solutions were failing, especially the live stream one. That was a tough one for my client, just because they were so on board with this new way of engaging with their customer, but the solution that they chose, the vendor that they chose, was just not coming through because they developed their technology too quickly and they didn't understand who the retailer's customer was. Live stream has been very popular with beauty. So when you translate that into another vertical like apparel, it's a completely different customer engagement. And there was a lot of, I guess, love lost there, which is hard. It is hard for retailers that are especially small, that are engaging all these new technologies and they're failing them. That's tough.
Just on that point, I mean, you bring up so many interesting points, and when I sit and listen and think about things, we have all these digital things going on. All these guys just come out of university and they think they've broken the retail code, and here's a bit of software. I think some of the failure is not that the software is not robust enough, but their diagnosis of the problem may not be thorough enough. So they've seen, everyone's got an opinion about retail. Why? Because we're all shoppers. We're all individual consumers. We all have our own journeys that we're going through, and we pop into Home Depot, Canadian Tire. We see, oh, this is retail. I've got a bright idea. I've just learned some C++, whatever it is, and I can find a way through this. I can develop some retail code, and maybe I work with somebody who's really good at sales, and they work out how I go to market, and I get in front of clients, potential clients, and I tell them this is a solution. And I go, yeah, it sounds brilliant. You know, we want to get on the cutting edge of all this, but when it actually gets embedded into position, it's as you say, it can be something much short of damn useless. The problem is the diagnosis is wrong.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, a lot of the people that I engage with around retail merchandising, especially, what we're seeing is that these technologies are being developed without input from the retailer actually doing the work. So it's a similar challenge that we saw in change management, where we're seeing it, where new technology is being developed and the retailer they don't have any buy-in. So if they don't have any buy-in, the salesperson is going to sell, you know, XYZ software to whoever. And they're like, well, you don't understand our challenges and pain points. This is not going to work for us. Like the sizing challenge that we had. It's really sad to see that technology is being developed, and it seems like it's almost very capitalistic because it's really about making money. But at the end of the day, if you don't help the retailer will fail, and so will you. So get them on board, and let's find better solutions to go digital, to understand our customer better, to sell better product, to be more sustainable, and we all win.
So we're looking forward to inviting lots of interesting people in lots of interesting areas of tech as it applies to retailing. And sure, we're going to have a great time. We're going to have some interesting discussions, and there may be some things that don't occur to us directly at this point. But I'm sure that when we get to the end of this journey, we'll have a sum up maybe of all the points we've learned as a kind of debrief on what we're about to enter into.
Love it.
Good. Well, on that bombshell, I think it's a wrap.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Lisa. Look forward to our future conversations.
Yep.
We hope you enjoyed the conversation. Hit the like button and leave your comments. Connect with us on LinkedIn to get the heads up on future episodes of The Retail Code.